Minister James Cleverly.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I'm grateful to the honourable member for Argyll and Bute for securing this debate. It gives me the opportunity to put on record an alternative and I suspect more balanced viewpoint to the one that he put forward, but nevertheless this does give us all an opportunity to discuss what is indeed an important issue, and I also put on record my gratitude to the other members of the House who have spoken in this debate. I will try and address some of the points they made, but time prevents me from addressing all of them. As has been said by members on both sides of the House, the UK and Bahrain are indeed allies and partners. We work closely on defence, on security, yes, of course, on trade, but also on regional security issues. Our naval support facilities are a symbol of that enduring cooperation and the UK's and also a symbol of the UK's commitment to peace, security and stability in the region. The country provided the first permanent UK naval presence east of Suez since 1971 and continues to support our counter-terrorism, counter-piracy and maritime security operations, providing security not just for British trade and British nationals, but for all of those who are active in the maritime region around the waters of Bahrain. The honourable member for Argyll and Bute was passionate in his criticism, not just of Bahrain, but also in his criticism of Her Majesty's government. And he claimed in his speech, and the Hansard, I think, will correct me if I'm wrong, that the UK is bankrolling Bahrain, and he then went on to say that we were trying to get money from Bahrain. I think it's not credible for him to hold simultaneously the position that somehow...
At no point did I say that the UK were getting money from Bahrain. I've seen the government are trying to secure a trade deal with Bahrain, and that's why this government are turning a blind eye to the most flagrant human rights abuses. It's not about getting money from Bahrain, it's about securing a trade deal, and you're turning a blind eye to human rights to secure it.
Well, Madam Deputy Speaker, he seems to think he's clarified his position. I think he's just made his own position more chaotic and incoherent. If he doesn't think that trade deals are about securing an inward flow of money into a country, then I dread to think what the trade policy of a separatist Scotland under an SNP government would look like. But as I say, time is tight, so we do need to get on. And I also thought it was quite telling that the Honourable Lady for Rotherglen and Hamilton West highlighted, and I will come on to some of the oversight bodies that the UK has helped to bring into existence, but she listed and then dismissed the oversight bodies rather than calling for them to be made more effective. And I think it's rather telling that her motivation seems to be to rip away these organisations which seek, with our support, to improve the legal and criminal justice system in Bahrain. And I think it's rather telling perhaps what her motivators are in this debate. The honourable gentleman, my shadow, is someone who I do have genuine respect for, but he accused Her Majesty's government of being silent on the issues in Bahrain that are of concern. And he is relatively new in post, and so I'll forgive him for this, but I can only suggest, Madam Deputy Speaker, that if he thinks we've been silent, it's more an indication that perhaps he has not been listening, because I will highlight where the UK government has indeed brought these things to the international attention. Defending human rights and promoting democracy around the world is a priority for Her Majesty's government. We want to work to support countries like Bahrain who have and continue to demonstrate a desire to adopt a more progressive and inclusive domestic set of measures, not just in their attitudes and words, but in their actions. And I have heard, as I said, from a number of members of this House that we should disengage from working with Bahrain, including on human rights issues. And I cannot possibly disagree more strongly. The question they should be asking themselves, the options that before them, is do they want Her Majesty's government to drive improvements in countries like Bahrain, or would they prefer Her Majesty's government just to stand on the sidelines and shout abuse as they have done? I will in a moment, but not just yet. If it is the former, then the question we should be asking ourselves is how best we influence change. And we are better able to influence change through engagement and dialogue and cooperation. And it is patently in the UK's national interest to help countries like Bahrain benefit from our experience and expertise as they move on their journey towards essential reform. And I will give way to the Honourable Member for Orkney and Shetland. Right on.
For giving way. The government presumably has key performance indicators in respect of the money that is spent in relation to Bahrain. Can he tell the House what they are and what progress we've seen in recent years?
A number of honourable and right honourable members have raised the issue about progress, and I will come to that, particularly with regard to the Gulf Strategy Fund. And I want to just clarify a point that's been repeated by a number of members opposite when they talk about the increase in funding. I would remind the House that the Gulf Strategy Fund does not come from our ODA allocation. And it was last year, or is it the predecessor of the Gulf Strategy Fund, which sought to accomplish largely the same set of priorities, had a budget of 20, let's double check, had a budget of, the budget in 2001 has halved from the previous budget that the Gulf Strategy Fund's predecessor was twice that. So when people talk about an increase, actually the budget has halved, and I think it's important that we put that on record. It is.
The point is about engagement. Could he assure us that he will pressurise the Bahrain government to engage with the United Nations human rights organisations, allow them to have independent visits and monitoring, and also unfettered access for human rights groups such as Amnesty International as well?
Madam Deputy Speaker, my understanding is the United Nations are already engaging with Bahrain on a number of issues that he has put forward. I do have a number of other points that I wish to address, and I've been generous, so if the House will forgive me, I don't intend to take any more interventions on this so that the next debate can take place in good time. Our close a number of members have highlighted performance indicators and demonstrations of our approvals of our involvement. Our close relationship with the Bahraini government and civil society, including NGOs, gives the UK a privileged position to positively influence developments on human rights. For example, we draw on 100 years of probation experience, and we are using this to encourage and support Bahraini-led judicial reform. And we welcome the steps taken by the government of Bahrain in reforming their judicial process, including the introduction of alternative sentencing legislation. And I know that a number of people in incarceration have been offered alternatives to incarceration. Today, over 3,600 individuals have had potential prison time replaced by alternative sentences, and further cases remain under consideration by the judiciary. Our work has supported the effective establishment of independent oversight bodies, the ones which the Honourable Lady would seek to destroy. These include a National Institute for Human Rights, the Ministry of Interior Ombudsman, the Special Investigations Unit, and a Prisoner and Detainees Rights Commission. Members highlighted examples of completely inappropriate behaviour by Bahraini officials. And I would remind the House that over 90 security personnel have been prosecuted or face disciplinary action because of investigations carried out by human rights oversight bodies that the UK government supports. And we believe that Bahrain is undertaking important and effective steps to address allegations of torture and mistreatment in detention. We strongly welcome the initiative that Bahrain has taken to develop an inaugural human rights plan. They are taking an inclusive approach, welcoming contributions from ourselves, welcoming contributions from the United Nations, which the Right Honourable Gentleman for Islington North was so passionate about earlier. And we look forward to the publication and implementation of the plan, which we expect will deliver further reforms in Bahrain. We of course recognise there is more work to be done. And just reinforcing the point I made to the Honourable Gentleman earlier, both Lord Ahmed and I have and will continue to make these points directly to our ministerial counterparts in Bahrain, and because we enjoy a strong working relationship with them, I know those ministers, those Bahraini ministers, listen to us. Regarding those in detention, I'm not able to go into details on a case-by-case basis, but regarding those in detention in Bahrain, and indeed many other countries, both ministers and senior officials closely monitor the cases of interest, which is a core part of Her Majesty's government support for human rights and democracy. And where appropriate, we bring these to the attention at ministerial or senior official level in partner countries. And it is important to highlight that those currently under detention have been tried and convicted of crimes and sentenced under Bahraini law, a point that my honourable and gallant friend, the member for Beckenham, has highlighted. The right to fair trial is enshrined in the Constitution of Bahrain, and we will continue to encourage the government of Bahrain to follow due process in all cases and meet its international and domestic human rights commitments. Bahrain remains an important partner and friend of the United Kingdom. We commend the progress that it has made on human rights and the ambition for further development of political, social, economic and governmental institution. My right honourable friend, outrageous. My honourable friend from Worthing West, the father of the House, said, I think, something typically wise, that it would not take much for Bahrain to become one of the best. I think he is right to say that. And we will continue to hold frank and sometimes difficult, but nevertheless constructive discussions with our counterparts in Bahrain, and we will continue to support them through the Gulf Strategy Fund and other diplomatic means to help them become the very best that they can be. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Brendan O'Hara.